Now, before I even start showing, you have to decide whether you eat to live or you live to eat. I'm not going to tell you what your answer should be. Do you eat to live or do you live to eat? I'll also give you a little joke. My father used to love his alcohol, and he used to say, food is the staff of life, but rum is life itself. I'll leave that with you. So probably that's where I get my sense of humor from. Anyway, thanks Olga and Tony for inviting me back again to come and speak to your group. And I notice it's international people from America and from Jamaica and from Africa, parts of Africa on this particular one, all about food. And by the end of the session, you'll have a better understanding, if you didn't have before, of what foods we should be eating and what foods we should be eating less of or more of, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to start off this session with a food and diabetes quiz. And there's no sort of right or wrong. If you think, oh my God, I don't think I know the answer to that. It's what you're thinking at the moment. So when I put up the first question, Olga will note in the chat. You're going to, in the chat, put whether yes or no. So Olga will get a sense of how many people of the people on the webinar said yes and how many people said no. Here is question number one. Do people with diabetes need to follow a special diet? Put in the chat, please, yes or no. This is your honest opinion you're giving at this juncture where you're at. Remember, we're on a learning curve. We're awareness raising.
Sheila said yes.
Mm-hmm. Any other people in
Doris
the chat?
said no.
Mm-hmm.
Wally said yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. In the interest of time, I'm going to move on. The people who said yes, I'm afraid you are wrong. There is no need at all for anybody with diabetes to follow a special diet. You should be having a healthy, well-balanced diet. And as some of you already on this chat know, I was born in Britain, but grew up in Whitehall, St. Thomas, Jamaica. And as a child growing up, all the people with the diabetes, the elderly people and the middle-aged people in the family, they used to put on a completely different pot for them. This is the 60s and 70s we're talking about. And us children, we would have a completely different pot put on for us. Now we know better. We all must eat from the same pot, but it must be a healthy, well-balanced diet. So that's the first one. No special diet, okay? Let's move to the next one. Do people with diabetes need to stop eating rice? Put your answer, please, in the chat. Yes or no, as far as you're concerned. If you have diabetes, you shouldn't be eating rice.
Sheila and Dorothy said no. iPhone Terry said no. Come Let Us said no. Tennessee said no.
Well, put it this way. Is there anybody in the chat who has said yes to this?
I don't see any hands. I see all no's.
All no's. That's fine. Well done. You all can go to the top of the class. Because when I do these events face-to-face, I see people shooting up their hands saying, yes, they must stop eating rice. Listen, remember, there's 2 billion people who live in China. The paddy fields of China and the staple product of China is rice. So are you telling me all these people in China must stop eating rice? No. The answer is you must eat rice, but I'm going to tell you the 3 rices more than any other you should aim to eat. They are wild rice. And I spell that out so people don't think I said white. Wild, W-I-L-D, rice. That's number 1. Number 2 rice, which Diabetes UK talks about a lot. Basmati rice, whether white or brown. It has a low glycemic index and it is far better for you. Basmati rice, white or brown. And the 3rd rice you should aim for is pure brown rice. And a lot of us know about brown rice, so we should know about those. So those are the three you should aim for. I'm not saying you can't go for the bulgur, yes, a bulgur wheat and cauliflower rice and so on, but the ones that Diabetes UK in particular say you should aim for, because they're much better for you nutritionally, are the brown rice, the wild rice, and basmati rice, whether white or brown. The next thing to do is to ask you, wherever you are, to cup just one of your hands, not both like this, one of your hands, please, cup it and look at your hand, cupped like that. The portion of rice that you eat on your dinner plate, ladies and gentlemen, must fit comfortably in the palm of your hand. Some people say to me, Lord, Tony, me is a big man or a big woman. That's not going to go to my eye teeth. Well, you need to understand that all carbohydrates you eat, let's just go through some of them: yam, potato, rice, patty, bread, all carbohydrates we eat break down into our body into glucose or sugar, blood glucose or blood sugar. So some people who say to me, Tony, I'm giving up the donut and the ice cream and the bulla and the bun and so on, I'll be fine. You need to remember your carbohydrate consumption. Although you need it, it's starchy food, it's food to give you energy. You cannot be consuming 6, 7, 8 tablespoons of rice and peas. I'm afraid I'm letting some people feel, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to alter my diet. But it's to try to make the pancreas, that 6-inch gland, which is just behind the navel string or belly button, it needs to be able to make the hormone insulin. And if you're having too much carbohydrates, it will not do the job that it's supposed to do properly. So that's the issue with rice. Smaller portion sizes, because on your dinner plate, you will have your vegetables. And if you're a meat eater, you'll have your meat or your fish or so on. But you have to cut down on your rice consumption. And that's the issue, which is why a lot of people, I should let you know, the country with the highest amount of people with diabetes happens to be China. They're top of the league. And there are 5 Asian countries in the top 10. India, Pakistan, China, Indonesia, and Bangladesh, all in the top 10 in terms of that diabetes, type 2. Right, moving swiftly on. Let's see what they say to this. Do people with diabetes need to avoid sweet fruit like mango and banana? Could you put your answer in the chat, please, so Olga can give me a take as to how many people said yes and how many people said no. Do it as quickly as possible so we don't sort
Terry
of
said no. Sheila said no. Tensi said no. Wally said no. Tony said no.
Okay. I have a bright lot here. You're all saying
yes,
no.
They're
very on the ball.
Good night, Tony.
Need to avoid sweet. No, they don't. Absolutely right. All of you who said no. You need to have some form of fruits within your diet, okay? However, you know, it's mango season in the Caribbean now. St. Lucia have whole heap of mango, Jamaica have whole heap of mangoes, and so on. And some people sit there. Mango is natural sugar or fructose, okay? You cannot be sitting there eating 8, 9, 10 mangoes at a time and not doing any physical activity. It's not the eating of the mangoes that's the issue. It's the fact that you eat all the mangoes and then you just leave the sedentary couch potato sitting on your proverbial lifestyle. That is a recipe for disaster. So find something that you like doing. Some of you might remember Mr. Motivator, who would do all this sort of physical activity and so on. I do Zumba every week, and I've done that for about 10, 11 years. I do yoga every single week. I do badminton. I do aquarobics. I'm learning to swim. I walk everywhere. If you will never see me in a lift. If you see me in any part of the world in a lift or an escalator or elevator, you have permission to slap me. Your feet were made for walking, and I like to do that physical activity. Form a walking club, you know, climb the stairs, park your car way down yonder, when you go to the supermarket. Then when you go into the supermarket, don't use the travelator, use the stairs. Those are the things you have to keep yourself. Even if you can't get, even if let's say your mobility is not as good and you have issues with terms of doing physical activity. You notice I haven't used the word exercise because that conjures up images wanting people to go to the gym. Go down the physical activity route of climbing the stairs, cleaning the windows, vacuuming, gardening, mowing the lawn. The more physical activity you do, ladies and gentlemen, you are burning up the calories from the food and the fruits you've ate and drank. Okay, and the food, the drinks that you've had as well. You have to do physical activity. It's called, in Jamaica, they call it Jamaica Moves. You cannot sit down all day leading the sedentary couch potato lifestyle. You will not, you will keep on piling on pounds. So yes, now let me just tell you one thing about this banana. The darker the banana skin is, it's the sweeter it is. So try and go for the banana when it is less ripe. And as for here in Britain, we used to get bananas when I was growing up in Jamaica, and they were called finger bananas because they were about your finger. Now the bananas are long like this, and you have to chop them in half and put half away. But you must have your fruits. And I would tell you fruits that I like, which are also good for you: blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries. Now, blueberries in Britain now, you can get that all year round. It is an exotic fruit. Just have it on its own. Wash them and have them on their own, or have them with yogurt. And I'm not talking yogurt with the sweetened it on it, just the plain yogurt if you can't do it on its own. But the more fruits you have in your diet, it keeps the digestive system going. It's fiber. So you have the guava, you have the satsuma, you have the naseberry, you have the orange, all these fruits, the sugar cane, the otiiti apple. The more fruits you have, that helps your stomach so that you don't have constipation. And then you make sure you do that. So fruits, yes, most fruits are sweet, but there's some fruits which have a bit of a tangy taste to them and a sour taste. Try and go for some of those as well. But do include fruits in your diet. Now, this one, I'm not going to waste any time on. Everybody should know the more vegetables you eat, it's the better for your digestive system. I can't stress that. So you got red onion, red cabbage, red tomato, red pepper, red grapes, all the reds, because the doctors say there's something about the reds which make them even better for you. So the more red vegetables you have, the better. But one thing I'll stress at this point for all of the listeners, not a vegetable, I am begging you to cut down on your red meat. Please cut down on your red meat portions. So those of us who like curry goat, which is red meat, oxtail, which is red meat, beef, which is red meat, and lamb, which is red meat, you cannot be consuming a lot of that. It does two things. It causes prostate cancer in men. That's a fact. If you don't believe me, go and look it up. Doctors tell me that all the time. And it causes colon cancer in all of us. So instead of all these red meat, you go for poultry, game. We're talking about chicken and turkey, those sort of things, and duck. You also, in terms of white meat, go for pork. Pork is white meat. Then, of course, you go for crab if you want to have your crab and your lobster and your prawns, shellfish, that sort of thing. But do cut down on your red meat portions, I beg you. But all the red vegetables, they're very good for you. And I encourage you. When I was growing up as a child, my grandmother would sit me down at the dinner table and say, eat up your vegetables. But I was very cheeky. I would say to her, vegetables like kale, callaloo, tomatoes, spinach, that is rabbit food or guinea pig food. And my grandmother would take the slap and the slip and she'd slap me. Don't be cheeky. And I'd have to sit, can't leave the table until, so I got into the habit of eating vegetables. And we need to encourage the young children to eat more vegetables. They're going for the whole heap of burger and the sort of burger bun and the meat and so on. And when you look on their plate, when you go out anywhere and so on, they have no vegetables on their plate. Encourage them and enable and empower them to eat more vegetables in there because it helps their digestive system. Far better for them. Now, let me see. Does anybody, and they can put the answer in the chat, know what is dal and beans? What is dal and beans? Anybody knows? Anybody? Olga has said what is dal and beans?
Is it like chickpeas, isn't it?
It's lentils, legumes, pulses. All the various beans under the sun are very good for your digestive system. They have fiber in them. You're to eat as many beans as you can in whatever shape. But one bean I'm going to tell you to shy away from, especially here in Britain, baked beans. They are packed with sugar and salt. Unless you go to the supermarket where they have the reduced salt and sugar intake in the baked beans. Please, I know somebody who went on a baked bean diet for 3 months, and instead of losing weight, they gained weight. It's the sugar and salt content in the baked beans which is doing them no good. So I beg you, but all the lentils, pulses, legumes that you can think, runner beans, cow beans, broad beans, black eye beans, and butter beans, the more you have of those, gungo peas, the red peas, those are far good for you and your digestive system, okay? And keeps your bowels loose so that you're not having constipation, okay? Yeah. But dal and beans is used a lot, in particular in the Asian community. Now, do people with diabetes, I want answers to this in the chat, need to cut down on fatty food like ghee, which the Asian community use, coconut oil, which we use from the Caribbean and Africa, and here in Britain and in the States? Should we cut down on that? Palm oil and butter. Let's see what the people in the chat have to say.
Let's have a look. So Tensi says yes. Sheila says yes. Nar said yes. Everybody is saying yes.
That's fine. That's all I need to know. They're bright, you know.
They're very bright tonight, Tony.
Right. Well, listen, I agree. You're on the path where ghee is used in the Asian community, where they put all the samosas and the papadum and the this and the holy oil and frap and so on. I grew up in Jamaica on coconut oil. 1 minute the scientists say coconut oil is good for you. Then they change their mind and it's not good for you. Then they go back to saying it's good for you. And then they go and they back and forth. It grew me up in Jamaica, and trust me, it never killed me. So as far as I'm concerned, coconut oil is good. However, what I'm wanting people to do, of all the oils that are out there, there's not this oil and that oil and vegetable oil and peanut oil and all the various oils. The one which we use in our household, and we swear by it, from the Mediterranean diet, is extra virgin olive oil. Now, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of olive oils on the market. They are fake, they are false, they are phony. You're only to, if you're going to go for olive oil, it has to be the extra virgin on it, saying extra virgin olive oil. It is more expensive than any other oils out there, but it is the best, and that's what the Mediterranean diet is all about. But in terms of cooking and oil and so on, I want you to do these 5 things. Boil, bake, steam, grill, and roast. For those things, you don't need oil. Boil, bake, steam, grill, and roast. Okay? Cut down on the whole oil, because it's like you have a car and you have a car engine and you have to put oil in the engine to make it. Can you imagine putting all this oil into your body and into your system? We need, so I'll look at all that crisp and all of that oil there and the jam and so on, and the butter and the margarine and so on. Less is more. Now and again, like when we do Johnny cake, in some countries they call it bake, or we call it fried dumpling. We started off, yes, in a little bit of oil, but we transfer it to the oven, and trust me, we make it and bake in the oven. The same fried dumpling Johnny cake, it tastes just as good. But that's something you need to bear in mind. Your oil consumption has to be much lower. Now, we have in Britain here, some of you are listening from abroad, you might not know of Cadbury's chocolate. Nestle, some people have it in some countries, Cadbury's chocolate, or and some other countries have it by different names. In Selly Oak, we have the big Cadbury factory, and that's where all the sugar from the Caribbean was brought because that was used to make the chocolate, the various chocolate things. You see all of that chocolate there? It is packed with sugar. So you will have 5, 6, 7 bars of that at a time. It is doing your body no good. That is way too much sugar in your body, even if you have a sweet tooth. So what I'm going to ask you to start doing is going into the supermarkets where you will see the dark chocolate. It's dark in color and it says it on the wrapper. 70 to 80 to 90% cocoa. It's made from the cocoa beans and it is much better for you. However, it bitter no hell. When we tell you say it bitter. So when you will eat 6, 7, 8, 9 bars of that in one go, the dark chocolate with the 70, 80, 90% cocoa, it takes you 3 weeks to finish it. But in the long run, bitter is better. That is my take on it. And if you go online on Diabetes UK, it will also tell you the same thing. Cut down on your sugar intake. That is not helping this pancreas, this 6-inch gland. If you're having, now and again, you have a sweet tooth, you have a chocolate, but you can't be having it on a regular basis. Nor can you have all those donuts that you see there, and the biscuits and the chocolate and the digestives and so on. You're not doing your pancreas. The pancreas, the aim of the pancreas, which makes the hormone insulin, is to regulate what we eat and drink. And if you're eating too much of this sugary stuff and carbohydrates and so on, the pancreas is going to struggle big time to cope with it. Okay? So bear that in mind. Now, this one, I won't bother to ask you to put in your answer, but I'll tell you. Over the 12 years that I've been doing these events, as you heard said all over the place, people come up to me and say, my gosh, Tony, I'm glad I met you. Because some people said to me, they deliberately go and buy diabetic jam because it says there, and this is a marketing ploy, no sugar added. Of course, there's no sugar added in it, but they have put a substitute for sugar. And what they put in diabetic jam is saccharins or sweeteners. So they get away with it, no sugar added, because saccharins or sweeteners, although sweet, cannot be classed as sugar. And that is where the public needs to be educated and be made aware, hang on, it's still a sweetener. And what you need to understand is, as doctors have explained to me, sweeteners or saccharins, some of them are carcinogenic. And carcinogenic means they can be cancerous to some people. So I'm saying to you, if you're going to have some jam, just have normal jam, but have a small amount, okay? That is too expensive and is not something you should be wanting to have at all, okay? Avoid it like the plague. Any diabetic food. The next thing you must avoid is diabetic chocolate, because people say, Tony, it run your belly, it run your tummy. We say, well, that's why you should go for the dark chocolate, 60, 70, 80% cocoa. Salt. Put in the chat, let me see if they're that bright now. What does salt cause in most human beings? What is the medical condition that too much salt does for us in terms of processed food with the salt and this sort of salt, coarse salt and table salt? What is the condition it gives us, the medical condition? See if anybody comes up with it, Olga. They should know this.
Yes, get in there.
What they say?
Blood pressure.
Absolutely. Top of the class, whoever said that. High blood pressure or hypertension. I am begging you, ladies and gentlemen, you have to cut down on your salt intake. You cannot be having all of this salt. It is doing you no good. And we know it. We all know it. I'm teaching my granny to suck eggs here, you know. You all know it. But then we're still eating all of this, the processed food. And the processed food, let me tell you where it came from. When these enslaved people were brought to the Americas and the Caribbean, the backer on his veranda would have him fresh fish. But because the sun is hot like what? And then they had no fridge or freezer to feed the whole heap of slaves. So what they did, the salt mackerel, the salt pork, the salt beef, the salt, you name it, the salt fish, that was done. And so we have this acquired taste passed down over the enslaved trade period, the slavery period. So that's we have this propensity to wanting things salt. And it's up to you to decide, you know what? I'm going to have to change the habit of a lifetime because I am increasing my blood pressure or my hypertension. So you've got to, and all of that salt, table salt, is packed with preservatives. I would rather you went for not sea salt from the Himalayas. There is a pink salt from the Himalayas, the highest mountain in the world. Put that on your food. It's natural salt and it is far better for you. And also, I want you to use these things as much as possible to flavor your dishes. Listen to them. Basil, dill, garlic, onion, cloves, pimento. I could go on and on and on. These are all herbs and spices without any salt in them, which you can use to flavor your meat dishes if you're a meat eater. And then just a tad, little touch of salt. So over here, and in America and Jamaica, they have this Texas, this jar of Texas. You open it up, where you're supposed to use it to coat the chicken coating. Open it up and just taste it. It is as salty as ever. Do like what my grandmother used to do when she was alive. She basically used flour and coat the chicken in the flour and then just add a little bit of salt. And you know, when you taste the KFC these days, people say, or you taste the McDonald's, or you taste the Wendy's or the Burger King, it's salt, and the processed foods when you buy certain things, takeaway foods and so on. The salt is meant to preserve it. It's done on the cheap so that it will have a longer shelf life, but it is doing you more harm than good by eating all of this salt. Now, my daughter's husband is a chef, and let me lift you into a little secret. He explained to us, we would go to restaurants and the food salted. And we would wonder why. He says, it is deliberately salted to make you thirsty and drink more. So what do people then do in the restaurant? They buy the lager, the wine, the tonic, the gin, the rum, the what have you, the vodka. Your drink bill can end up being more than your food bill. Come on, people, get wise to that. And you know what you must ask them in the restaurant for? A jug of water. Plain source or tap water. Not water that you have to pay for, you know. You see them out long from here to America and back because that was not what they was expecting you to say. But cut down on your salt, I'm begging you, because it is the leading cause of hypertension, high blood pressure, eventually leading to strokes and heart attacks. I'm asking you, please, and get your kids in particular to cut down on everything they have, and even the tomato ketchup, and even the salad cream. Now a lot of supermarkets are doing them 30% less sugar, less salt, and go for the brands with the less salt and sugar. They taste just as well. Okay, so that's the issue with salt. Be very mindful of it and the consequences. Cutting down on salt. Now, who knows what that is? Anybody in the chat knows what Chlorella is? Has anybody seen it in any supermarket or in any shops here in Britain or anywhere in America or so on? You're muted, Olga. You're muted.
Sheila says it's a bitter gourd.
Bitter melon. Sheila, top of the class to you. Top of the class.
And Salma as well.
Yes.
It says it's like Cerasee.
It is like Cerasee. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right, Miss Tense.
Yeah. It is a bitter melon or bitter gourd used in particular by the Asian community a lot. They use it in their meat dishes. It doesn't end up being bitter when they've done the meat dishes, but they use it to flavor the meat dishes. You'll see it anywhere in Birmingham where the Asian community live. They go and buy it. And some people, you use it to such an extent. I'll come to another slide later in cultural myths to tell you something about that. But yes, I'm not saying you must avoid it because that's part of their culture. But I'm going to show you a slide later where they need to be thinking about it, why they use it and why they shouldn't use it in such large portions. But we'll come back to that. But it is a bitter melon or bitter gourd. And the equivalent for us would be like Cerasee or tuna or things like that. Okay. Now, 3 meals a day. Yes, some people go for 3 meals a day. Some people go for smaller portions, but have 5 meals a day. Some people have intermittent fasting and don't eat for, say, 24 hours, 48 hours. Each individual has to check out within their GP practice or with their healthcare team or within their own self. Nobody knows your body better than you do. What's best for you? I can tell you that I do not eat after we have eaten at 6:30. I don't eat again until 11 o'clock the following morning, allowing my stomach and the pancreas, that 6-inch gland across the navel string, the belly button, allowing it the time to recover from the food I've had the night before. So I do have 3 meals a day. Start off with something at breakfast, and it's called breaking the fast. That's the actual name of it. Remove from the breaking, the ing, remove the, and put break and fast together, you get breakfast. So you have to decide within your self what you're going to start for breakfast. What should it be? But these kids going to school and they're having a can of pop and a packet of crisps and the donuts. Please, I'm begging you, please stop it. Don't allow, because my wife as a teacher says by the time they get to school, they have so much sugar in their bloodstream. All they do, they just fall asleep. They can't concentrate. The days of us growing up in Jamaica, we used to have either cornmeal porridge or banana porridge or oats porridge or rice porridge, and especially oats porridge. And I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I am not talking the refined Fosca or Quaker oat. I am talking the thick rolled oats. My mother, as a nurse, trained here with her 2 sisters in the 50s, 52, 53, and 56, said to keep your cholesterol levels down, have your thick rolled oats porridge of a morning time. And that will help you. So you're not picking on the crisp and on the this and the that and nitpicking and nibbling on all sorts of things. That I'll leave with you. And as I said, not the refined Quaker or Fosca oats. We're talking the thick rolled oats, which you can get in most supermarkets. Okay? But 3 meals a day, if that's your plan, 5 meals, or you decide what's best for you. Now this one, oily fish. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to start, if you don't already, eat more oily fish. Tuna, sardine, herring. Tuna, sardine, herring. There are other oily fishes out there. Those spring to mind straight away. Let me see which other ones. Tuna, sardine, herring. But think of all the oily fish that are available out there. The more oily fish you have in your diet, it wards off dementia, Alzheimer's, and senility. It does something, the oily fish does something to whatever in the brain. Her doctors have told me that and said encourage people to eat more oily fish. However, listen carefully, Tony Kelly did not say go down to the fish and chip shop every week. That's another oily fish me I talk about. So you need to be quite clear on that. That is 3 times a year. 3 times a year. We know we love the fish and chips, but you cannot be having that as oily fish. Oily fish is the tuna, the sardine, the herring, the mackerel. Those are the oily fish that I'm talking about. Now, some people said to me, what about salmon? This is the issue with salmon, ladies and gentlemen. The salmon in Britain is farmed. It's farmed salmon. And they put them in the farms, in wherever they are. They feed them with these pink pellets, which are carcinogenic or cancerous. But the pellets are pink, so it gives them a lovely pink color. You look at most salmon in the supermarkets, how lovely and pink it looks. And you gravitate towards and say, I've got to get some of this salmon. It's so lovely and pink. It is the carcinogenic or pellets that have given it that color, and it can be cancerous. So I am begging you to go for the salmon from the wilds of Alaska, from up Scotland and the Hebrides and the wilds of Alaska, the red salmon. You can even get red tin salmon. Those are the salmons I'll be urging you to buy and less eating of the pink salmon if you want to avoid cancer. I'm not saying everybody will get cancer from it, but the doctors have told me, Tony, get that message out there to people. Okay. Now you notice in that salmon plate, that salmon bowl, there is a melon. Every morning when I wake, and I've been doing it for about 12, 13 years, I squeeze a lemon, a full lemon. Even if we're on holiday in Jamaica, America, or wherever we are in Spain, I squeeze a full lemon in warm water in a glass, and I drink that. One's alkaline and one's acidic. I always get them mixed up. Either the stomach is alkaline or the lemon is alkaline and the other one is acidic. But once you squeeze that in the warm water and drink it, it wakes up the stomach and is one of the best. Some people say, what about lime? I never do use lime because I think lime is too sour. I can manage with the lemon. And when I go on holiday and I can't get any lemon, I just get the bottle of lemon juice and do the same thing again. And people say to me, yes, doctors say to me, that's one of the best things you could ever do in terms of getting your stomach ready for what you want to put into it for breakfast. So try having that. Try. But then a good friend, dentist friend of mine told me a few months ago, Tony, be mindful though, drink it through a straw. And I'm giving you that advice as well, because if you just drink it like this from here, the warm water and the lemon, it can over a period of time affect the enamel of your teeth and cause your enamel to wear off. So drink it through a straw, and then you don't have it because it's going straight down and not getting all around where the teeth are and the enamel. That's the tip for you there, okay? So moving on. Now, some people are teetotal. Some people don't, because of their faith and their religion, don't drink alcohol. I accept that and I have to respect that. For those of us who do, you have to have alcohol-free days. So sometimes nothing on the Sunday, a bit on a Monday, nothing on the Tuesday. You spread it out during the week, because no matter what the alcohol is, it is still calories and you will pile on pounds, whether it be rum, vodka, beer, stout, gin, what have you, you will still pile on pounds from drinking alcohol. So it's 14 units is allowed for women, 21 units per week for men. You have to, and even people with diabetes can drink alcohol, but it's less is more, moderation in all things. Now, the last one on this before I go to the cultural myths is smoking. God forbid if anybody on this thing here, this webinar is a smoker or a vapor. All I'm gonna beg you to do is pack it in. Try and give up this habit of a lifetime, the smoking habit. Okay? Now I'm gonna stop sharing that now and bring up the cultural myths. Myths and misconceptions that abound out there in communities, which we have to dispel and try and get rid of when we're doing these events. These are given to me by the Diabetes NHS and Diabetes UK. There's a Corella, which some of the Asian people swear by that it is going to cure them. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no known cure for diabetes, type 1 or type 2, no known cure. However, some people lead such a good life that it goes into remission, goes into reverse. But if they go back to eating unhealthily and not doing any physical activity, the diabetes will return. Everyone with type 1 has to be on insulin. They have to inject insulin because their body has packed in, the pancreas has packed in altogether. But only 8% of people have type 1. 90% of people with diabetes have type 2, which is either it runs in the family, or they have too much weight around their tummy area, or the pancreas is making some insulin but not doing its job properly, or not making enough insulin. Okay? And some people with type 2 have to take metformin, the tablet. Some have to go on insulin, and others like me manage to do it by being disciplined with the food I eat and so on. Now, in the African Caribbean community, of course, we use aloe vera, Cinco Bible, and tuna. Herbal remedies, we call them. Now, I am not going to sit here and poo-poo herbal remedies. We who grew up in the Caribbean and Africa, we never, Fensic and Kafanol and paracetamol and Panadol, we never used to use them in our day. Anytime me feel unwell, my grandmother would have sent me to get soursop leaf and live for life. And by the time she done rub me up, by the next day she said, "You're ready, you're going back to school." The fever gone. So we had our herbal remedies. You heard mention of Cersei early. Elena and Muma go grong. Elena start cry fishy belly. Go home, go home, go home, Elena. Go boil Cersei for your belly. We had our herbal remedies. And I'm not having anybody, even these medics now, poo-pooing what was part of our culture and our history. So don't just think, oh, no, I have to have this drug and this drug. And the doctors need to enable and empower patients to make the lifestyle changes. And don't go big pharma, big pharma, big pharma straight away. That's my message out there to you as well, people. Ask yourself, why am I on this tablet? And is it really necessary? And so on and so forth. Okay. So the next slide, I think I went, yeah, here we go. A myth out there, believe it or not. Oh, diabetes is a touch of sugar. We minimize it, we can trivialize it, we downplay. It's no big, that's just a touch of sugar. Ladies and gentlemen, in Whitehall, St. Thomas, I had relatives who had strokes, who were blind, who had heart attacks, who had kidney failure and had to go onto the dialysis machine in the Kingston hospitals, leaving the country. Some had their feet chopped off because they weren't taking care of their feet, and they had ulcers and sores and had their toes. Even my aunt who grew me up, she was a teacher. She had her toes chopped off because of the gangrene or septicemia or whatever had set into her toes. It is more than a touch of sugar. It is a very, very serious medical condition. So anybody who wants to minimize it and trivialize it, I'm afraid you're not in my good books if you do. So white sugar, you should see there, is a no-no. White bread is a no-no. And white flour is a no-no. Go for granary bread, go for brown sugar in small portion sizes, and go for things that are brown. So the bran flakes as well is another thing. But try and avoid the whites. We're all black people, we're all brown people. So black don't crack is my saying. So go for things which are brown, but still in small portion sizes. Now, in some communities, and I'm not going to tell you which, you will know which, you will see the man walking down the road in his little village or neighborhood. He's as skinny as a rake, and next to him is his princess, his duchess, his queen, or his wife. And he feels so important and bossy, a show off, holding his wife going down the road. He's as skinny, and he's deliberately fattened up the missus, the partner, with the big breasts and the big boobs and the big bottom. Less is more. And I go to some communities and they say, but Tony, this is with culture. Honestly, God, I feel like slap them. Culture, that is a recipe for disaster. Yes, some people are big in size. I'm not going to deny that. But nobody should be feeding up their women folk to get to that size unless it's just that they're naturally that big. Okay? I'm going to show you in a minute. I have this tape here. And those from Jamaica will know. Me now run duppy, but I'll tell you what this tape is for in a second. Okay? So, big is not beautiful. Less is more. We hear this a lot out there in communities. Oh, it's only old people get diabetes. I said, oh, back in the 60s and 70s, that was so. But now in Britain and across Jamaica and across the world, children as young as 13, 14, 15, because they're going home from school, and on the way home from school, they're eating the chips and the McNuggets and the pizza and the McDonald's and the this and the that and the Burger King and the Wendy's because they're eating all of that food, which is no good for them, not a treat now and again. They're eating it on a regular basis. They're all now developing diabetes at a much earlier age than used to. It's escalating, going up and up and up. We need to address this. This is why I'm passionate about doing this. Ever since I retired in my role as a senior probation officer, I'm out there trying to make people aware. No. It's not an old person's condition anymore. Probably back in the 60s it was, but I'm afraid young people are getting now. This is one we hear a lot. Trust me, you might laugh. A big belly is a sign of a happy marriage. It means that the missus is feeding her husband well. That man is about to have triplets. Look on the size of his belly. Come on. This is what Diabetes UK says. All women, I'm going to show you the tape now. All women should aim for, notice aim for, measurements of from the belly button. Let me stand up. From the belly button, not the trouser size, from the belly button, the navel string. All women, regardless of ethnicity, must aim for 31.5 inches. So remember the Miss World competition where the perfect figure walking down the catwalk was 36-inch bust, 24-inch waist, and a 36-inch hip, what we call an hourglass figure. Show me any woman in there, Olga, who can tell you, say, yes, them have a 24-inch belly button. Identify themselves, please, because me yet to see one in 12 years. But some women are bigger in size, and you need to understand that. So let's say your measurement from your belly button is 40, for argument's sake. All I'm begging you to do by doing physical activity and eating better is, it's sometimes hard to lose the weight around this midriff bit, but try and come from 40 down to 38 or to 36, because what you're then doing, you're enabling the pancreas. You're getting rid of all of that fat, and you're enabling the pancreas to do its job more effectively. Release the insulin, which regulates what goes around the body. Asian men have a measurement of their own. They are allowed a measurement of 35 inches. 35 inches from the belly button. So sometimes when I go to these Asian groups and the Asian man will say to me, oh, I'm watching my weight. I say, how are you watching it? It's right there in front of me. I say, no. You got to lose some of that belly fat that you have there, because it is going to cause you your problems with diabetes if you don't already have it, okay? Losing some of the weight is for your betterment, okay? White men and black men, we are allowed, Diabetes UK says it, an extra